So more on the subject of walk-ins.
Oh, yes.
In terms of, so this particular conference
This is a conference for walk-ins.
Okay. For walk-ins, or is it to explain to people about walk-ins?
It'll be a bit of both. It's open to whoever wants to go. Right. Basically.
So walk-ins, if we just explain what walk-ins are, because I mean it's a subject that's sort of fringe. It's on it underlies a lot of people's knowledge.
Yeah.
In terms of, we understand that walk-ins can be in many different ways. It's where
you can have walk-alongs.
Okay. Well,
I often wonder if I'm not a walk-along.
Walk-along.
Yeah.
Sounds like something from Australia.
Isn't it? When I channel, and it's usually when I channel, I don't know what's going on otherwise, it's just normal me. There are several conversations going on in my head at once. I'm part of a team, it feels. If you can imagine, this is not to do with walk-ins necessarily, but it might explain. If you're in a conversation with a group of people, say half a dozen people or 3 or 4 people, and you're talking, you're only talking to one person, focus at one time, even if you then switch and talk to somebody else. I mean, you look at whoever you're talking to, don't you?
Okay, single point of focus, yeah.
That's right, yes. It's similar to when I'm channeling. I have more than one with me. Right? You might say I have several minds going on in my head at the same time.
Okay.
Right? The one that's speaking through me is the one I'm focused on.
Yes.
But another one might come in, like in a normal conversation, and say, well, what about, and chip in with their bit of information. Now, is that a walk along, or is it just for channeling? I don't know. How many do I have with me? Do you see?
So just explaining that particular concept, is you're saying there's several minds operating.
Yes.
Within your awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, and these are detached
and I'm their representative
or detached
for whoever
aspects.
Wants to speak.
There could be aspects of yourself. There could be other beings that are sending their pattern of vibration to you.
It could easily be that.
And depending on how you focus on that, you can bring that through from each individual mind.
Yes.
Or they speak as a collective.
They speak as a collective. They often say we are one mind. We operate as one mind.
Right. Okay.
Right. But they are still they and we. Do you see?
Yes.
So there is still more than one operating as one, which is lovely.
Yes.
But going back to walk-ins, as I understood it, and because I've been to the conferences now, met lots of these walk-ins. A walk-in is a soul that has a mission. They have to have a mission, a purpose, and I'm talking about a purpose for humanity, not just for themselves.
Yes.
It's not enough just for yourself. You are allowed, given the authority, and with agreement from a soul that wants to depart this world, without committing suicide, to do a swap. It's very closely orchestrated, because it's no good walking in, stepping into a soul that is not in a position.
Well, we would think of this as, we've got to look at it in terms of possession. No, so it's not a possession, which is an overshadowing. Yeah, it's not possession. So we can put that to one side, nothing to do with possession. Completely not a possession. Right, okay. There is full agreement. Thank you. And the person that wants to walk out still continues their journey, but they have to start from the spirit world and perhaps reincarnate or whatever, sort themselves out. They've had enough, or maybe their mindset isn't in tune with their physicality, or whatever reason. So this is a soul that's decided on an experience in third density, third dimension, on Earth. On Earth. That it doesn't want to live anymore. It's now moving on, or is now decided that they no longer wish to continue that experience. Yeah. They've gained their lessons, they've gained their own experience. They've done what they can do. And they've gained their own mission. Yeah. And it's time for another to come in, so that they don't have to go through the birthing process. Here is a body that a spirit can use with permission in order to fulfill their mission. Right. But there are caveats attached to that. Because if you've got one soul coming in and replacing another, your earlier thing that you said about having lots of minds at the same time, could not one person remain where they are and still have... That would be a walk along. That's a walk along. It could be a walk along because they're still there. Right. So there isn't a complete swap. It's just another soul comes in. Because as you know, souls don't occupy a space. No, no, it's not locational. It's not locational. So you could have a walk along where you work in harmony together. Okay.
Right?
But this walk-in, you're saying that particular process is one soul that serves its particular missions, its purpose.
For whatever reason.
Moving aside, and the physical body as a coat, as an envelope, another soul then occupies and brings along the personality of
another soul that has a purpose. That's the main thing.
So people might experience, who go through walking, from my own experience, 4 days after my own Kundalini awakening was a case of the energies that were in me, almost like radiation, was shaking the body. It could not hold my physical body together, so it needed a higher aspect of myself to come in and hold together the physical body.
Yes.
And so my lower aspect...
So you could say that this is a walk-in of a higher aspect of yourself.
Yes.
Not a completely different soul.
So Polaris AB is a higher aspect of myself.
Of yourself.
Of myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But is that a walk-in, or is that just a walk-in of your own, another aspect of yourself?
Well, I see that as a soul aspect transfer. That's the name that I've been given to
But
describe
from what
it.
I understand from these conferences about walk-ins, it's a completely different soul.
So we're segregating the fact that this is one soul replacement. It's a soul replacement. Yeah. Right, thank you.
And they have to clear up the mess of the outgoing soul.
Right.
Because there is usually a mess.
Yes.
Which is why you often get divorces or change of likes and dislikes, and things don't quite.
So we could say the mess is where the soul is wanting to move on.
Because
the chaos that's caused because they're not holding together their life.
Yeah, that's got to be resolved.
Right. So a lot of individuals at the moment, having been past the 21st of December and the ascension process, will be maybe feeling this fact that things are falling apart, and they
don't
want
to
move
continue.
on. They want to, yes.
Yeah, maybe they say, look, I don't want to be here for the chaos that may be coming.
So as an
I want to opt out, but I don't want to commit suicide.
Yes, so rather than suicide...
And I don't want to die.
Is this something that we could say to people that they could ask for if they've had enough? Or
there's got to be an agreement at a higher level.
I don't want to sort of promote that, but there is an alternative to say...
That may be happening, of course.
There's something inside people that might say, do you know what, I've had enough now of this experience.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
There's another aspect of me that can come in or to help me or get in contact with a higher self, or I'm ready for another soul to take over my experience and my life.
They would need to be able to make those questions. They would need to be able to connect with their higher selves.
It's a difficult subject to understand. This is why I wanted to cover
it's not what everybody can do.
Right.
The majority of souls wanting to opt out are not consciously aware that that's what's going on.
Right.
They would only know that, say, in astral travelling or when they're in another state. But on a conscious level, they would haven't a clue. Okay. A lot of people who are walk-ins don't even know they're walk-ins.
Well, I understood it took me a long time to recognise everything that's taken place with the Kundalini awakening. I had no idea what that was at the time that it happened, and the higher aspect.
But you're very fortunate to have had that.
Yes.
I know it wasn't.
But I had to relearn emotions because the Kundalini had burnt my emotions out. I had to relearn those and relearn a personality.
It may be as you say, it could be another aspect, a much higher aspect of you saying, right, it's time for us to step in.
Okay.
I'll say us because there's more than one aspect of you.
Yes, of course.
Right. Yes. And we've all got more aspects of ourselves. But generally they don't merge until they finish their physical incarnations.
Yes.
They merge out of body as a rule.
Well, for me it was a process of going to sleep and 2 hours later waking up and knowing, absolutely knowing that I was existing within a new body.
Yeah. It was a walk-in.
Yes.
Whatever way you like to put it, you should be at this conference, you see.
Well, I know that a lot of people will be at this conference and will have questions about what's happened to them.
Yes, so that's really important.
I was hoping that this particular discussion would show from
when I come back, I'll be able to tell you a bit more, probably. Yes. Okay. Because there's got to be a reason for me going, and the expense of going all that way just for a weekend. I mean, literally, it's just Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So if you were doing a talk, what
I would love to. I asked them if I could.
Okay, what would you want to cover? What sort of area? What would you like to say?
Always about the journey of the soul for me, the evolution of the soul, because each person has got to now take responsibility for their own soul's journey.
Yes.
It's the majority of light workers They're working to help others. I want to give you healing, I want to help you, I want to counsel you, blah, 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 and so on and so on. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But they're often forgetting about their souls too. And they have a journey, and each soul looks at their own soul's journey. Because by doing that, they're helping others. A bit like me feeling love, I can't help it. And it's affecting everybody around.
Yes.
You see? So if you look to yourself, it's going to affect everybody around to help them anyway.
Yes. And it's such a wonderful feeling as well.
Oh, it's
There's nothing
amazing.
like the bliss feeling, what I call liquid fire, that exists in the higher hearts.
You know that nothing can hurt you.
Yes, that's a very important point as well,
Nothing
isn't it?
can hurt you at all. Even if you died, that's not hurting you.
No.
Because your soul is still intact and it's still at the level that it was.
Or you still remain you, but without a body.
Absolutely. What could be better?
Transition. Yes. Yes, without it all. Yes.
You see?
Yes,
so.
But do you yourself feel a walk-in? Your situation?
Do you know, I still don't know.
Okay, it's interesting.
But the only reason I doubt that I'm not, I mean, there's more reason to think that I am than I'm not. Okay. There have been several occasions in my life when it could have happened.
Yes.
The Spirit has said to me once, we dropped you in when you were 7.
Okay.
Now, I nearly died when I was 7. That's very early.
I would say from my experience, it does feel that a death occurs.
Yes.
And I know I've had my astrology chart read, and it's a very, very clear transition where the person said, on this particular day at this time, we've got a massive area that either says you went through a rebirth or you had a severe accident or something, and that of course
I nearly died.
The walk-in.
And I have a absolute blank.
Right.
Of a certain period in my life when I was 7.
Okay. So
I can't remember
similar.
it. I simply can't remember it.
Okay. So it's a very clear transition that takes place. Somebody who has walk-in knows that there was a pivotal point where something changed, but not necessarily what's happened or the reason for that.
But there could be several times. You see.
Yes.
You can be a walk-in more than once, and the reason I'm coming up to this because it may affect other people as well.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of work in Washington DC, and this particular medium there was brilliant, absolutely brilliant medium. I had a reading with him, and he said, "Shirley, you're going to Brazil, because I've been to Brazil, to scan the country for your next incarnation."
Scan the country for your next incarnation.
Yes.
It's a great line. Okay.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yes.
And he said, "You can leave if you leave the world now, because Spirit have been telling me I can leave if I want to leave." Without dying, I can leave.
Well, we finish the video first.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you leave now, they will bring you straight back into the body of a young man, a doctor in Brazil.
Now, young man?
A young man. So if they're going to do that, then I have to be a walk-in.
Right, okay.
Because they can't put me into a young man like through the normal birth process, because he's already a doctor, a young man in Brazil. Which would mean there would have been an agreement for me to be a walk-in into this young man. So if I've done that.
So we can say young men in Brazil are listening out. You might be visiting them one time. Then,
I don't know. You see,
not a young woman. Wouldn't you want to be a young woman?
I operate very. I don't know. I like being a woman.
Of course.
And what is really weird. No,
but it's the work of spirit.
I can go off on
okay.
all sorts of attacks on sex and gender.
Yes.
Because we were talking about this last night actually in the group, and I told them something I've never told anybody, and I'm not telling you.
No, all right, and certainly not for the camp.
Certainly not for the. But it was to do with sex,
right.
Gender, rather than the emotional entanglement.
Yes.
It's more gender, sex than anything.
Okay.
Which would explain an awful lot to me, my feelings and my thoughts.
Right.
In my normal daily round.
Okay.
That's going to intrigue a lot of people.
It is, isn't it?
I'm not going to.
I think we're going to have another video sometime. I'm not sure if it's clear for YouTube.